Hi, this is Anne with Fiber Designs by Anne, and I'm painting fabric today using a few different techniques. I will be making a fabric, just a small piece, that I'll use in a project in an upcoming video. My fabric is ironed onto the shiny side of freezer paper, and that's to stabilize it. It helps protect the surface as well, but I still have other things underneath there because the paint can go through the fabric and through the freezer paper if it's wet enough. And I've drawn a little flower, and I have it on white paper because of my mat being darker, and I'm just sliding it under here. It's my little cheat sheet because I don't want a freehand on this. I'm using a stain Sharpie marker, and I'm just going to follow my design around. I just need to mention that I'm not paid or sponsored by any product company or manufacturer that appears is used or mentioned in this video. So I'm going to go ahead, I have a lot on here, but I'm going to go ahead and finish up, put a few more on, and then we'll move to the next step. So I'm ready to paint. I've got a regular Jacquard Textile Color in yellow and in orange. It's a very bright orange. And Lumiere in bright gold, and Lumiere in the citrine. I'm using a couple round brushes and a dauber because it's round, that's why I'm using that. And I've got some craft sticks and my mister bottle, a container to put my paint in, and I cut out just a piece of foam to stamp. And because I know at some point I'm going to be hand stitching some of this, I'm going to water it down a little bit. We'll see. I'm not too worried about staying within the lines. It may not happen. So I'm just going to put a little bit in here. This paint goes a long way, I find, even if you don't water it down. But I'm going to thin it out and stir it up. So I'm going to use this for the center of the flower plus the green. I just like a little metallic. I think I'll stir the rest of that with my sponge. And kind of smear it around in here. And press lightly. I do like it speckly like that, but I think, yeah, I went off a little bit. That's not going to matter. So I could go and do all of those, but because I want a little bit of moisture there, I'm going to go ahead and put my green, that's probably a little too heavy, right in the center. While everything's wet, you want to just sort of keep going, but I'm going to just show you one. I have yellow here, and I'm going to put it in here. So I'm thinning that out a little bit too. So it's going to be sheer, and I'm okay with that. I don't really want it to be especially thick. I'm also going to open my orange because while it's wet, I'm going to try and do something with the orange. I'm just going to pull this down into there. Not too worried about staying within the lines. This fabric is dry, so the paint dries pretty fast on it and doesn't move. So the next thing that I would do is take this brush, which is dry. I'm gonna get it a little bit wet, and pick up the tiniest bit of orange. We'll see what happens here if I can do this. And my hand's in the way. I hope not. Tiny bit. And since that yellow is still wet, I'm hoping that it would blend a little bit, but I may have to shoot some water on it, which means my yellow will blend out away from the black lines probably, but I'm not too worried about it. I think I'm gonna see if this is a mistake. I'm gonna dab on there again. And still got some green paint on here. I'm gonna live really dangerously and hit that with some water, some mist water. And you can see what'll happen. Oh yeah, I like that. Sparkled up because of the metallic in here, it's Lumiere, sparkled up the orange a little bit, but it also is blending it a little more, so I think that looks really pretty. Okay, well, I'll carry on and see where it goes. I see the yellow is bleeding out, but that's okay. For the background, I'm going to use Jacquard Textile Color in Sky Blue, and I'm going to use a resist. My resist is really old, so we'll see what happens. I mixed that with some black paint. I put it in a little teeny bottle with a metal tip, and I'm going to go around where the black is. Ideally, once it's dry, I can apply my blue in the background and let that dry, and then hopefully wash away the resist. It may change the black lines, but hopefully the yellow will stay yellow instead of turning green. So I'll do the rest and then I will be back. I gave the painting a little try over where you can't see it, so I'm going to go ahead and do it here. If the petals start turning green, it either means I have too much water or I didn't seal with the resist. I didn't close it so that there was a little gap for the blue to go into. So I'll just paint, and where there's yellow around here, that's going to definitely turn green. So I've mixed my paint. I have one that's really, I haven't stirred that yet, again, very, very thin. I might even make it a little thinner. And then I have a bit over here, same paint, and I'm just using this water and making it a consistency of maybe cream, like whipping cream before it's whipped. It's just, you have to just sort of practice and you figure it out as you go. So what I've decided to do is to take the little bit thicker. I have a small round brush, and then I have a more soppy round brush, but you can try different brushes as well. But the point is kind of necessary for getting inside these areas. And again, my fabric is dry because I don't want to dilute the resist and have it totally disappear. When I get out of the ways, I am putting a little more water on it. The different fabrics will also make it take the water and the paint up differently. So keep that in mind. You can see the yellow turning green rather. And if it starts to bleed over, I'll know that I didn't fill that black resist line in. I'm mixing up paint, and I'm sorry you can't see that. I'm just a little bit afraid of splashing on here. So I'm just feathering it out. And I could put soppy wet there like I did here, but I'm afraid it'll start going over, and I'm not prepared for that. I'm going to be fine with this design being a little mottled. In fact, I like that very much. Since I'm right near an edge, I'm going to go ahead and put some paint. Once, like I've said so many times, once that paint hits the fabric, if the fabric is dry, it's not going to go very far. So I can only blend this so much, and I don't want to get too much water in there. Feeling like it's a teeny bit thick. There's a fine line between being too thick and too thin. And I can go back in. This is real heavy on here right now, and just pull some more lines through. That is too thick. Hang on here. Let's get it a little bit thinner. Like I said, you just sort of feel it and figure out what feels like it'll work. Some of the resist I put down was, I put it too thick or my hand wasn't steady, and so there are some blobs. It'll be interesting to see what those do when I wash and rinse the resist out. Also, I didn't necessarily go all the way down to here with the resist. Some of them I just did around the corner. I was a bit inconsistent. So I don't know if the black paint that was in the resist is going to make the lines look different from this point up, and then where I didn't do it, I could take the black marker, maybe. I'm not really sure. I haven't used the stain markers very much. I could go over my black lines again if necessary. So, when I do more of this, I will speed it up, or I will just edit. Yeah, I really love what that yellow is doing where the blue is turning yellow and blue make green, of course, so that's what that's doing. So far I've been considering that my resist was old, and I didn't really know how it was going to behave. I'm very impressed. I wish I knew how old. It's old. Several years old, I would say. Gonna just, as much as I don't really like this heavy edge, I'm a little fearful of putting too much water, so I'll just use the paint I've been using and just kind of, I'm not gonna care what kind of model effect I get. It's gonna be great. I wanted to say I tried using the moppier brush. It's a round brush, but it's moppier. It's not as stiff. And it was okay. It was nice because it was faster to get in there and paint with one stroke or two, but it sort of left some hard lines coming off, which is okay with the way I have things going. The other thing I wanted to mention is, if you're right-handed, you might want to do a piece, if it's big like this or long like this, from left to right so that you're not laying your hand in it, and vice versa if you're left-handed the other direction. So I'll finish this up and I'll be back. The last thing I did was touch my stencil brush in paint that wasn't really diluted, and I just stenciled. Well, the brush was wet, so that made it a little bit diluted. I just stencil tapped the brush just to blend a little bit of the hard places where the paint came together. So I'm going to let it completely dry, and then I'm going to rinse it out because I don't want to heat set it with the resist on there. And then I will heat set it after that. piece is done, I put it out in the sun and I let it dry that way, which was really quick. And then I washed in between my hands under some running water. The resist worked out really well. It doesn't even really show where I used it differently, where I stopped and didn't go all the way down. I'm pleased with that. It's got that little bit of sheen from the metallics in the center, and I'm really happy. The feel of it is very nice. It's a little more stiff where the metallics are. Otherwise, it's still very nice and soft. I have this one I was practicing on when I first started, and this is where I used resist on it, and you could see that it worked. That I think would be fun to use in a slow stitch piece. In the next video, I'll show you what I'm making with this piece of fabric. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, I hope you will. And be sure and tap that bell because that'll give you notifications for my most recent videos. Until next time, this has been Ann. Thanks a lot for watching.